aircraft is an F-18 at the 90. Stand clear to port catwalk and fire line. Stand by to recover aircraft. This is a drill. Through the ages, been bravely given life. Will always break its word. No matter, we'll still follow this song. For freedom, the battle rages on.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Caesar with the Battle Rhythm Podcast. We are back. It's another Tuesday night, and we are here with some very, very especial people. I have are you a co-host now? Like, are you just gonna?
If you keep inviting me back, I guess I'll keep showing up.
Apparently, you're going to be on a lot more than what we do. So, I got Aaron Busey again from Busey Digital Media, Digital Group. I don't even know. Is it
just
Busey
Digital?
Okay, there you go.
Keep it
Busey
simple.
Digital.
Yeah.
It's the kiss statement, right?
Yep. Keep it simple, stupid.
Thank you.
Yep.
See, did you ever know that?
I did.
Okay.
And I might say that again tonight a couple times.
Okay. That's fine. And by the way, that's also we have Whitney Tilley, who's our special guest today. And also Kathy Olson. Kathy is another friend of Whitney's that we're going to be introducing here in a minute. But first, you guys know what you know how I start my show, right? You guys do realize what I do, right?
Is this the time we tell him we don't actually watch?
I'm
just kidding.
No, that's fine. I mean, my wife doesn't even watch it. She's right here. This is the first time she's ever even seen me live do anything. But I do want to tell you guys something. We are going to do, like every week, I start this out with my interview of the week. All right, the interview of the week is Whitney Tilley. We are here in studio, and I actually love the interaction with the studio now. Like it's awesome because you can actually have it's like having a conversation. I think last week when you were here, we had Paul Reed, and had such an incredible story with his books, and the dude was just funny.
Yeah, I've been telling that story all week to people. I'm like, man, this guy. Let me tell you, and I try to recap it, but of course, his storytelling was just as good as the story. So
it's probably even better because like the way he would like enunciate, and he would just get really, really animated.
Yeah,
it was just. So we're hoping about the same thing here.
I mean, I'll do my best.
Okay.
I'll do my best.
Well, the best as you can do. And Kathy, you're going to have to up your game. I mean, those are rookie numbers you're pulling over. You haven't even said a word yet. So welcome to the studio, Kathy. How are you, ma'am?
I am great, and thank you for having me. I love our veterans. I love the service you're providing for our veterans. Thank you very much.
Well, a little background, a little history. This podcast actually started as an informational channel for the VFW post here in Sherman, and it kind of evolved into this bigger thing, I guess. I don't know how it did, and it just all of a sudden it just kind of blew up, and so we're blessed, or I'm blessed to have this. But I do have to do some station identification real quick. You guys are listening live to the Battle Rhythm Podcast on Voice of the People Radio and TV network, also on UC Digital, and on Patriot Radio out of my buddy's Matthew. He's down there. I think he's in Florida. I'm pretty sure he's in Florida. Yeah, but he also has a great show that actually just got picked up as well on Voice of the People, and he's going to be on. I think his shows is on Wednesdays, and he actually has a very very interesting show. I've been on his show a couple of times. I called in and they'd be like, "Hey, we got to talk about this." And we can talk about term limits and what we can do. Should we have term limits for senators and for other stuff? And he's just like, "Dude, we got to do this thing even more." So just wave to the people. Hi, how you doing?
Yeah, give a shout out to Podcast on Main and Split Window Studios too, because this place is awesome.
I was getting there. Yeah, no, this is super awesome. And when I first came to these guys, I came about a year ago. I was like, "Hey, I have this podcast," and at that time, I only had like 3 listeners. I had like 3 listeners.
Your daughter and your wife?
No. It wasn't even that. It was just like I literally had rookie numbers, and the way it kind of worked out. It was I think at the time I had like 10 followers on Facebook. And I'm like, "Hey, look, I'm starting out and doing this." And the station I was on before, it was a different station, another veteran station, and when I got picked up with Voice of the People, I said I'm going from tens of listeners to like millions of listeners, and it's I'm blessed. Like I said, overnight just kind of blew up, so it was crazy. But we're gonna start out with the fact that you guys are here. I love the interaction, so it's gonna be a good show. I've been looking forward to it. And I talked to Aaron this week. I was like, or last week, I was like, hey, it's gonna be an interesting show because I need you to come here so we can ask some questions because I'm only gonna have X amount of questions. I was like, you're gonna bring a different
I know, it's a
idea.
different vibe tonight.
Well, it's
Solemn,
well,
sad-ish. It's sad with
It's kind of a lot of
a
things.
positive twist, I hope.
Yeah. So it's hopeful. It's solemn. It's
we're gonna keep this from happening to somebody else.
Yes, that's my
Yeah.
goal.
You're right. Because
It's happy.
That's yeah. I don't even know where to start, man. I mean, I just introduced it. And I was like, okay, where do you go from there?
Here, I'll give you a toss.
There you go.
Whoever's wondering what are we gonna do tonight.
Right. So Whitney is here to tell her story and her experience that she's had in the last 6 months, I guess it's been.
Today is 18 weeks.
18
18
I am
weeks.
4 months. Yeah. 18 weeks today.
So 4 months, 18
Jeez.
weeks. Okay. Whitney's here to tell her story of how just a day of a
A routine surgery.
routine surgery has really changed everything for you. And
Oh, it's obliterated my life.
right. Yeah. And so I guess you just want to start with a background and kind of tell
Sure.
how this got.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So November 7th of last year, my husband was working on a project. He loved projects. He would typically take things apart to rebuild them better.
Right. Okay.
So just, he loved that stuff. So he was working on a project in the garage and I did not know he was on a ladder. I thought he was just doing his usual. I don't ask questions. That's the man's place. And I let him have his space. And he was on a ladder and the ladder went one way and he went the other. And after, hours and hours in the ER, he had a broken tibia fibula.
Wow.
And they sent us home. And, the whole thing was when we left the ER that night was no movement, no weight, and to follow up with an orthopedic surgeon. So I did that. And I was able to it was our first go at a doctor up here. And used the doctor that they had referred us to and called that Monday, which was the 11th. And because he fell on a Thursday, Friday was a whirlwind. And by the time I called them, they had already closed for the weekend. So called first thing Monday morning. And they gave an appointment for the 15th, which was that Friday, which the weird part of that is the discharge papers said surgery within 7 to 10 days. So the 15th was 8 days. So we're already pushing
To the limit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go to the doctor. They schedule surgery for the 26th, which is 19 days after the fall.
Mm-hmm.
So we are still doing the no movement, no weight. We are getting around the house in a wheelchair and crutches on occasion, but he was mobile the best he could be. And we go in for surgery on the 26th, and he didn't come out of surgery. He had developed a blood clot and didn't come out of the OR.
Did they? I mean, you're already at the edge of 8 days because it said 7 to 10 days,
For
right?
sure.
And then what? Did they do any blood work during that time?
They did your
before?
typical when you go in for your pre-op stuff, like days before the surgery. They did that. They did the chest X-ray. That's all they did. They did nothing other than your standard things.
Mhm.
And after all this happened, I was bombarded with so much more information.
So let me ask you this: obviously, usually when you go into a surgery, you either 7 o'clock in the morning, 6. You got to be there 6, 7 o'clock. What was going through your mind at that point in time?
So the weird thing is, because that's normally been the thing, you go first thing in the morning and you're out and home by 4-ish.
Right.
They didn't want us there until 10 in the morning. So I think we left our house around 9:15 or so and got there. It's less than 10 minutes from the house. And we got there and they took him back pretty fast.
Uh-huh.
It didn't seem, the morning woke up heavy, like it was just a weird morning. It felt weird that morning anyway.
So you sensed something.
Something was
air.
off.
Okay.
Something was off. And he felt it. And he had, he's had several things that he's had surgeries for in the last few years. And every time, I mean, you get that anxiety before a surgery. Just everybody gets it. It's
Right.
normal. But I never played into it. So I kept it very
light.
Yeah, just like, just the normal, just went about the morning.
Right.
But I felt it that day. I felt it. And trying to not play into my feeling of it so he didn't pick up on that was hard. But it was just heavy. And I don't know why. I mean, it was a leg. Of all the surgeries he's had, this was the last one I was worried about. I wasn't worried about this at all. This was so routine that it's insane. It's insane to think that this has happened.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine she goes to they go to the hospital. Doctor says 45-minute surgery, have him home. But when you go home,
I go home without him.
You go home without him.
Yeah.
A simple day surgery, 45 minutes. Go in, fix the knee, done.
Did they give you an explanation there? What the cause?
So, immediately. They knew immediately. So the doctor came out and spoke to me a little before. It was probably around 1:15, and told me the surgery went well, and that they were going to keep him overnight for observation, which was never discussed with me, and that he was concerned about some blood clots. And I immediately, something just, honestly, I felt like I was going to throw up. And I said, okay. And I'm listening to him. He's like, he's fine. They're having a hard time kind of waking him up, but he's fine. Surgery went well. We're just going to keep him for observation. And I asked a question about if they were capable, like if they had the ability to handle that where we were, because this was just an ambulatory surgery center. This is all they do, like just your random day surgeries. And he said, if it's anything, they would transport him probably somewhere in the Metroplex that could handle it.
Wow.
So I flat said, then I said, is there anything I need to be concerned about? And he looked at me dead straight in the face and said, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And he walked off. And it was minutes later that the code blue sounded. And I knew immediately. That waiting room had people in it, but I knew it was David. I knew it was David. And I probably should leave it at that, because everything after that is
just a blur.
Yes.
Yeah. Can I ask you this? What was the last thing you said before he went into surgery?
I was just trying to keep it light. And
Whitney, it's okay. It's okay.
I kissed him 4 times. I don't know why we kissed each other 4 times. I don't know why. I told him I'd see him in a little bit. And as I turned that corner, I just said, break a leg. And
I know it's difficult. And
when he and Whitney were always joking around with each other and laughing and carrying on. So that comment, break a leg, was just that's the relationship. It was fun. It was light. It was loving.
And I'm sorry that I had to ask you that question. And the fact that we need to kind of set the tone and the scene as to why this is important. It's because, and this is why Kathy's here, is because we want to make sure that we bring awareness to people, because so I was telling you guys before, when I went to weeks after this happened, I myself went to a surgery, And knowing what had just happened, my wife is like, is there any chances of this and this? And she was asking 10,000 questions. And when my surgery went longer than was supposed to, because I think it was only scheduled for like 4 to 6 hours and ended up being like 9.5, and she was freaking out because they didn't tell her nothing. There was no communication between the doctor or the nurses or anything like that. So she's freaking out, and I'm over here going like, hey, I was high as a kite.
Yeah.
I didn't remember anything at that point. But the awareness, what I'm trying to say is that people need to be aware, and they need to realize what kind of questions they can ask the doctor beforehand, and how can you prepare for this. So this is why Kathy is here. And Kathy, we're gonna give you a little break. I know you gotta recover here. So Kathy, please tell us what first of all, introduce yourself and let us know where your background is from and what you specialize in, and why this is so important for us.
Okay. I will tell you, we talked about that. If David was sitting here with us today, that's the first thing he would say: keep this from happening to someone else. Don't do this to another family or another wife or any more children or grandchildren. Stop this.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons we're here today, and that's one of the reasons we'll be working on this in months and years to come. So my name is Kathy. I'm a registered nurse of 40 plus years. I have proudly earned every one of these gray hairs. My background is in the emergency room, intensive care unit, as well as a flight nurse, inspired by MASH. I'm also a health law attorney. I specialize in investigating medical errors and poor outcomes and working with the front line to identify why it happened and putting practices into place to keep it from happening again.
Mm-hmm.
My business is actually called Journey to Zero Harm. And what I do is political advisor to try to get ideas, change laws, regulations to make patient care safer. And a key piece of that is educating our patients and our families. Y'all need to be aware of what could possibly go on in a hospital when you go in there, because you sadly are part of that safety program is your education and your awareness. And we're very happy to be here today because something I've actually just learned the past few weeks is veterans actually are higher risk for pulmonary or blood clots.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that based on all the medicines that we're taking?
Well, it's because of your history of what you've been exposed to, exposed to trauma. Some of you may be wheelchair dependent at this point. Wheelchair dependent people can be exposed to blood clots. It's also, I don't know the details of this, but some of the chemicals you've been exposed to, including the smoke and Agent Orange, they can put you at greater risk for blood clots. So
I didn't know that.
Veterans are one of those groups that has an increased risk for blood clots. I didn't know that either until I started preparing for this podcast. So I'm happy to learn more.
for actually being professional and preparing for that. So
that's So, and there's actually benefits. So if you do have a blood clot related to your service, there are benefits that the VA will provide for you. I don't know the details of that either, but they're out there. So,
well, I have some connections in the VFW side that actually go into that, so we can definitely get you some numbers into how that can all work for everyone. So we'll talk offline about this, because I believe that the work that you're doing is probably going to be impactful at the fact that this is going to be it's going to have an impact on a lot of people, and we'll go into the history and the background of what we're trying to do, or what you're trying to do here. So Kathy, how did you become involved in this case?
So I'm actually Whitney's stepmom, and ironically, I quote retired the Friday before this happened to give 100% of my time to medical errors and the prevention thereof. And what is the irony that 4 days later, my stepson-in-law would pass away from a medical problem.
I'm a big believer things happen for a reason.
They happen for a reason. And
not to cut her off, but from the minute this happened to honestly where I sit today, everything it's been awful.
Yeah.
But there's been so much good that it's hard to not see.
Right.
That I don't want to say this happened for a reason, but I said the other day, like, I'm not sitting here, why me? It's why not me? Why not me? Why this is my fight. So if everything happens for a reason, I'm going to turn that into a positive.
Right.
pain into purpose.
Right.
So yeah.
So I stepped out just a second there. So I
Yes.
didn't hear everything Kathy said, but we were talking when I came back in, you were talking about the medications and the veteran side of it. And so I have a question for Kathy.
Mhm.
Is there signs that we can look for that there may be a clotting issue without having to have x-rays and scans, or is it only going to be signs from getting tested?
Yeah, so there are some basic signs. So what this is, to just back up a little bit, David passed away from a pulmonary embolus. And basically, that's a blood clot that got into his lung.
Mhm.
Blood clots start typically in our lower extremities. They can start elsewhere, but usually it's the lower extremity. So when that happened, patients or people usually start having calf pain or an unknown calf pain that they can't really correlate to anything they've done, and they'll start having tenderness to the site, sometimes redness, and just something that seems off. It's when that blood clot breaks loose that it becomes an embolus, because now it's flowing through your bloodstream, and it stops, unfortunately, in the lungs and blocks that exchange of oxygen, and that's why we see people not doing well with pulmonary embolus. So for the leg part, you're going to have leg pain, you're going to have pain and tenderness. For the pulmonary embolus, you're going to have chest pain, shortness of breath. Unfortunately, David was under anesthesia. So when he got his pulmonary embolus, my theory is he had a blood clot in his leg that loosened and became mobile through his bloodstream during the surgery that landed in his lung. So unfortunately, he was under anesthesia. So he's not going to have chest pain and shortness of breath because he was not conscious. Right. So, we did not know that until, I guess, the CRNA or an anesthesiologist identified something was going on with him.
Do you think that obviously when he fell at home, do you think that actually could have started that blood clot? I mean, could there be a possibility? I mean, I'm not trying to speculate or anything. I'm just saying.
That's the $1 million question, because the history of these blood clots, usually one of the key factors is immobility, also trauma, as well as a fracture and a fall. He had everything. He had every potential reason to have a blood clot. He had fallen 3 weeks prior. He had broken his tib, a fracture. He had become immobile after that. Whitney had to rent a wheelchair. He could not even walk on crutches. The pain was so severe. So 3 weeks later, he also had developed right ankle pain during this time. And Whitney can address that a little bit more, but he had some right ankle pain and tenderness, which was not related to the fall or the fracture. So that was kind of odd. So my guesstimate is that's probably where the blood clot was forming. So he had all the risk. If you look at the high risk for developing a PE, he met those criteria.
I want to remind our listeners and our viewers that if you have any questions in regards to this, I know this is going to be a lot, but please post your questions on our social media. We'll go ahead and answer those questions as best as we can, and we'll be monitoring those. But please, if you have questions, please let us know. I do have a question for. I mean, I don't know if you addressed. I don't think you've addressed this, but you fell on a Friday or Thursday or Friday. What was the delay? I mean, did you guys go right away? Did you guys go right away to the hospital when he fell after that?
I called 911. He was transported via ambulance.
Uh-huh.
The delay, I mean, that's a question for the doctor. I couldn't even, there's an issue in this country. We'll just like purple elephant in the room, but with getting actual doctor's appointments.
Right. I mean, that we go through that with the VA.
So, and David was not a veteran. I called that Monday morning, and they would not even schedule an appointment for David until she saw the X-rays.
And they took the X-rays that night, right?
Absolutely, yeah. They took the X-rays at the ER on the 7th.
And from that to when she saw the X-rays, what 4 days?
It took hours for them to even schedule an appointment. They called him that afternoon, and they didn't even have an appointment available, or didn't give him an appointment until that Friday.
This timeline, I mean, I don't know, that this timeline for me is not making any sense.
It's bananas
to me. You would think if somebody falls, like Kathy mentioned, that you will have some, Well,
I mean, we left the ER knowing he was going to have surgery. Like, it was a given.
Right.
It was just get to the orthopedic surgeon and get it scheduled, kind of thing. And 19 days.
Have you learned now since then, after the fact, is that a common wait time for this type of thing?
Absolutely not.
Or is there They really are
Your
getting in.
It's 8 to 10 days max.
Okay.
It is not a standard wait.
Because I mean, it did say that on the letter, right? 8 to 10 days.
It said that on the discharge papers from the ER.
Right.
So it's not a systematic problem that everybody has to wait 18 days.
No, I think it's a systematic problem that it's just too difficult to get a doctor's appointment.
Mhm.
Like, you should be able to call a doctor and get in to see a doctor.
Well, even if there's no doctor here, they should be able to call around.
Well,
I
if
mean,
he was too busy and couldn't get him until that Friday, then they should have referred us somewhere else.
Right.
Because it was, I mean,
are we allowed to say what?
absolutely not.
Okay, got it. So it was XYZ Medical Center.
It was Dr. XYZ at XYZ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yes.
In Bryant County,
Yes.
Oklahoma.
Yes.
Got it. All right, just making sure that we got that. It wasn't in Texas. It was so I do want to read you guys the something that they provided for me is called the this is what they're fighting for basically. It's called the Tilley Act. The background and the history. So obviously we talked about the pulmonary embolism and what it brings, but this is kind of the background story that she kind of already mentioned a little bit, and I want to make sure that you guys out in the audience actually listen to this and understand where everybody's coming from. So the pulmonary embolism is a life-threatening medical condition caused by a blockage in one of the pulmonary arteries in the lungs, typically due to a blood clot that originate from the legs or other parts of the body, a condition known as deep vein thrombosis or DVT. Given its potential for severe complications, including sudden death, preoperative risk assessments for PE is already a standard practice in surgery. Guided by the clinical recommendations from organizations like the American College of Surgeons and the American Heart Association. However, relying solely on this standard practice is insufficient to consistently identifying patients at high risk of fatal pulmonary embolism. Mandating PE risk assessments through state legislation would transform this voluntary clinical guideline into formal legal requirements, ultimately saving. Sorry, that was
That was Aaron.
that was Aaron's leg completely hitting the desk. I apologize. Sorry about that. All right, so hold on, I got more. There's more. I just couldn't see because it was super small. November 26, 2024, Officer David Tilley underwent what was expected to be a routine D surgery, an open reduction of internal fixation of a tibial plateau fracture. Tragically, he passed away during the procedure from a pulmonary embolism. Even more shocking, the surgeon, surgical team, and coroner, say that 10 times fast. The coroner concluded that David's death was caused by a pulmonary embolism without conducting a forensic exam or diagnostic test. Their diagnosis relied solely on circumstantial evidence. David was 3 weeks post-trauma, 4-foot fall from a ladder, had a leg fracture, and had been largely immobile at home during that time. These factors placed him at a high risk for PE, risk that the surgical team recognized only in hindsight. No preoperative tests were ordered to screen for this preventable and treatable condition, despite David having undergone preoperative evaluations for his heart, lungs, and kidneys. A simple additional test could have identified risk for pulmonary embolism and saved his life. Even more troubling is that David's case is not unique. Countless preventable deaths occur because neither surgeons nor surgical centers are legally required to assess PE risk before surgery. Current standards mandate assessments and interventions to prevent DVT and PE after surgery, but there is no requirement to determine if a patient is already at high risk prior to the procedure. This process involves little more than reviewing the patient's medical history and conducting 1 or 2 diagnostic tests, tools that are readily available and easily implemented if ordered. We propose the Tilley Act, a draft bill to be presented to the Texas legislature to mandate that surgeons assess every patient's risk for pulmonary embolism before surgery. Evidence-based risk stratification tools such as the Caprini score or Geneva score already exist to identify at-risk patients. We ask only that the use of one of these tools be required. In David's case, he would have scored as moderate risk on such an assessment, triggering further testing to rule out pulmonary embolism. Had this simple step been taken, he would have still been with us today. So let me ask you this, Kathy. This bill, when did you introduce this bill?
This was introduced, when was the deadline? A couple weeks before the deadline.
It was the week of March. The 14th, March 14th was that Friday, I believe, and it was that Monday or Tuesday.
So in speaking with some of my, so first of all, let me back up. I'm very active politically, school choice and all that crazy stuff. So I've decided to just focus on healthcare. Anyway, I got some feedback from some of the legislators and the representatives that even though this gets sponsored, it's not going to go anywhere because Texas legislature is not going to tell doctors how to be doctors or hospitals how to practice medicine. So best play, and that makes sense because they just don't. And actually, we probably don't want them to. They can't figure out a lot of things. So, but we want to take this on a national level, and that actually makes sense. So we're going to, like I said, I have a senator's office that's taking a look at this as well as a congressional representative, and ideally, we'll be working with the Veterans Administration, CMS, Medicare. Groups like the Joint Commission, DNV, that all set standards for patient care. And actually, another group we'll be working with as well is the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, because they have a practice recommendation, that a pulmonary risk assessment be done prior to surgery, but it's not a requirement.
Wow.
It's sad that you have to require doctors to do that, but we're going to have to take it to that level. And that's what I'm working on. So.
That is astonishing to me that they don't require this. I mean, they obviously know the effects that anesthesia can have on a person, right? I mean, not everybody's able to take anesthesia or general anesthesia, right?
Here's the real disturbing part is they are required to do pulmonary risk assessment for surgeries because while you're laying there during your surgery, you're immobile. It can be for hours. So they're required to do one then, and you probably have come out of surgery where you have those white stockings on your legs, or you may have the ones that blow up and down. Those are part of a regulatory requirement that we do that to keep from having blood clots and potentially a pulmonary embolus. So to not require that assessment before you go into surgery, that potentially you have this the few weeks prior doesn't make sense. Again, it's a recommendation, but not a requirement. So the Tilley Act basically makes this a requirement.
I mean, they're obviously aware of the risk because they have post-surgical procedures to check for it. They have during surgical procedures to check for it.
When you have surgery, they get you up and have you walking pretty fast.
I mean, literally.
And the majority of these happen post-operative. So, I don't want to say why me, but
it can happen. It can happen at any time. I told Whitney, my years of working in the ER, we've had patients come in the ER that were having chest pain and have a pulmonary embolus. They may make it or may not. They're home mowing the yard. Or
I will add to this too. In the last month, for maybe 5 weeks at this point, in the last 5 weeks, I have been told of 5 people now that have died of a pulmonary embolism. 5 people who
in the area?
No, not ish.
Okay.
You know, a couple in Fort Worth, or one in Fort Worth, one local. Well, I say local, in the Plano Frisco area. And one of them, trying to think where the others were.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
I mean, it was all within let's just go with a 50-mile radius of where we sit right now.
Well, Fort Worth a little bit more than that.
Okay. We'll go with that.
But no one's counting. I mean, nobody knows this area anyway.
Whatever. But no, it's too.
That's the point. Now that this has happened, we're learning more and more people it's happening to. It's just astonishing. So, and I'll tell you, the patients coming in the hospital have to have a fall risk assessment, a suicide risk assessment, a skin breakdown assessment, are you being whatever assessment. It's unbelievable.
It's like, are you being sex trafficked? Are you being
sex trafficked?
And you want to check for this?
Yeah.
We're required to do this. And pulmonary risk assessment is 4 or 5 questions, takes 2 seconds. Physician has to do it though. And it's patient's history.
I was joking. You just made that
no, it's not a joke.
No. You just made that reference about, are you being sex trafficked? And I don't know if anybody knows this or not, but when you actually do the sign, it's in distress. I mean, I do it all the time to my friends. I was like, are you in danger? We're like, is your wife hitting you? That type of thing. So,
that's your wife sits right over here.
Yeah, she says, do not pan out there. Please don't pan. No, but I joke around it, but I do it because people are like, what is that? And it really,
It is.
people need to know that, right? Because if it's a child, if it's a teenager, if it's a woman, or even a man that's being abused, for whatever reason, our society is not going to, if I do it in front of, like, they're going to take this and like, is it being serious right now? Is what's happening? So I find that very interesting. They actually mentioned that is something they screen you when you're actually going through
They give you the chance
pre-op
for help.
But
Yeah. Whitney, I didn't think about this, but let's add this to our list, because the ERs are also required, and surgical centers are required to put posters up about washing your hands, about please let us know if you do this, please let us know that, so we can put up information about pulmonary embolus or DVT.
I am here for whatever we can do to make this not, because I cannot tell you how I might look okay. I'm not, like, this has
and Whitney had never heard of pulmonary embolus until the doctor came out and said he died from pulmonary embolus, and she's like, what's that?
I just don't want this to happen to anybody else. It
yeah,
can't.
I was actually a little apprehensive about actually having you on originally, because I was like, I don't know if you're gonna be able to talk about this, because I mean this is traumatic as it is, like when you lose a family member, especially a wife or a child, or like, I was like, is this going to be a tough? It's a tough conversation to have, but I think the fact that it's, like you said, you turn it into a positive, and we're bringing awareness to this, and hopefully we can actually make this go big. Especially
it's what David would have wanted. Whitney, share with them after he had his cancer, what the Plano Police Department. That's another thing. He was retired.
He retired February of 2022
from Plano.
Plano PD.
Plano PD. How many years did he do?
24.
So he was. I mean, he was vested, well vested.
Yeah.
Well vested. So.
I'm sorry. What did you want me to?
So, talk about the changes the police department made after he had his cancer.
Honestly, they brought up both of the chiefs that David worked for at the PD spoke at his funeral.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be honest, I don't remember what he said.
Oh, I will tell you. So David had
I don't remember hardly any of that.
Don't you worry, I got notes.
So David had a bladder cancer, but the chief said at his funeral that now all police officers are required to do screening for prostate cancer and other cancers. And I just thought, and that was influenced by David.
Is this prior to being hired, or is this during being hired?
I want to say it's probably part of their
medical
annual, top stuff.
But I'm sure it's also part of the pre-hiring stuff.
Yeah. But
so that's how David was. That's what he would want, and that's what we're doing this for too. That he would want something to come out of this as well.
I have to say, through all of this, between David and I, we have 5. I call them boys, but they're men. And hi guys. David's oldest. I had told him tonight, I sent him the link, and
who's Taylor?
It's Taylor.
It's Taylor.
It's Taylor.
Well, he said, probably Whitney.
He sent me a text because I'm on a group message with the boys, and let me find it. But he was the sweetest, because David's role at the PD was a public information officer, and so he was the one that was forward facing,
right? The cameras and all that stuff, yeah.
And Taylor said, "You're David Tilley's PIO." So it just deserves to be. He deserves to be talked about,
right.
But this deserves a platform. I mean, there's 100 million things going on in the world, but this is bad, and it could happen to anybody, and I don't want anybody to feel the way I do.
Yeah, and again, I may be a small platform, but I think this should be able to get their ball rolling on something, because I know we've been heard by a lot of people that are actually involved in legislature and stuff like that. So the owner of Voice of the People, Dan Smariglio, he is actually running for senator in the state of Maine. So obviously he's got some connections and stuff like that. So hopefully we can get all this stuff going. And it takes a village to actually move a mountain. So
I feel like I have a good village right now, and the more the merrier.
Well, some of us are
So-
digesters, so we're fine.
So you made the comment that there's a million different things going on, but not everybody has the platform, for lack of a better word. Not if I were to go out as Aaron Busey and approach politicians and talk about the dangers of pulmonary embolism, it wouldn't carry nearly the same message as
The
David
sad girl sitting
Tilley's.
next to you.
No, you have been given the platform or the torch or whatever you want to call it for this topic. And so there are a million things going on in the world, but that doesn't mean that anybody can pick one of those things and make a difference with it. But in this particular case, you have the opportunity to make a difference and gather the support of people that obviously I support it, but I haven't been firsthand affected or had to deal with it in my life. But I can support you with it. And your voice and your message is going to be the one that has the powerful impact with the people that you're trying to get the message across to.
Thank you.
And so there may be a million different things to worry about and talk about, but Whitney Tilley's assignment is for David Tilley, because you now have, you've been given that aura of the person that has a voice on this topic. Caesar's got a voice for VFW. I've got a voice for whatever I've got a voice for.
You got a million voices.
You got
voices.
You got a million voices. Don't even
But
say-
We
specifically,
should say one personality, but a million voices.
right? Yeah. And they're not in my head, so
Mine are.
But this is the time like that. You have a defined target, a defined project, and you have extra power and literally just being who you are in the circumstances to make a difference that you didn't have the same power a year ago. If you'd wanted to take on pulmonary embolism, probably nobody would have listened to you any more than they listened to me.
Well, like you said,
But
you
now
probably
you
know.
have, but now you've got some, you can pull your weight a little bit with the situation.
Thank you.
Yeah. So
You didn't even know about what pulmonary embolism
Yeah.
was.
I mean,
before.
I think I will say, and I've said it 100 times in the last 4 months, the depth of my medical knowledge is from ER and Grey's Anatomy. Like, I know nothing.
Oh, mine was Scrubs. Actually,
I mean, I could say like
That's worse.
what is it?
But Scrubs, but a lot of people have told me that Scrubs is actually probably the most accurate as to how medical it really is. And
yeah, ER wasn't bad. So
no,
ER was. Let's give Grey's Anatomy some.
I was a
no, I
paramedic.
will not.
When
no,
ER
I will
came out.
not.
I was a paramedic when ER came out. I was in the fire department. We'd get together, after hours, and we'd be on the couch, doing the fireman life on the couch and eating dinner and relaxing. We'd watch ER, and it wasn't terrible.
Mhm.
It was always difficult to watch a show, like watching a police show. I'm sure David was like, "That's not how it is. That's not how it is." And so,
It depends on the show.
yeah, and so it was the same
It
kind
was
of thing.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah.
That's not how it is.
Yeah. Reno 911.
Reno 911.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, my favorite episode was the Boots.
No,
Yeah.
his favorite were like what was it? The first 48.
Oh
I
yeah.
like that. That's
that's
my
real
wife
stuff.
watches
Yeah.
that all
Yeah.
the time.
The
She's
first
like,
That's real
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
The first 48,
Yeah,
she's like,
I'm
I know
talking
how to
about,
kill
like,
you,
the
baby.
I want to
dramas.
watch the funny stuff. Like I want
Yeah.
to watch mindless TV. I
Oh,
don't
yeah.
watch
See,
real.
I'm going to throw this out there. MASH is the only true reality medical show.
With Klinger.
Ra-
Okay.
You know, Radar was actually a Disney princess.
What?
Radar. So MASH was owned by Disney,
Okay.
and then Radar ended up dressing up as a woman or whatever. So there was a meme going on. It's
No, it
like,
wasn't Radar. It was Klinger.
was it Klinger?
The tall, skinny one.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, Klinger.
Okay, well,
Am I
sure.
showing my age?
I know Klinger. Yeah, and Radar.
I knew a Radar, and the only reason why I know Radar because I'm a Radar guy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that was me. So I was like, oh, Radar, So that's why. Well,
didn't
I had it
know that.
wrong.
I
Yeah,
didn't-
yeah.
Okay.
So
Klinger.
there's a whole meme on it that Klinger is a Disney princess because
I had no idea.
because there was an episode where he ended up dressing up, and, and so he's a Disney princess.
I think it was more than an episode. I think that was kind of one
Was
of
it like
regular
his thing?
things, wasn't it? I think
Oh,
so.
it was his thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Then
was his
yeah,
thing.
he's
Yeah.
a
And I want to say it was his thing because he just wanted to go home.
yeah.
Oh man.
Well, probably yeah.
I think that's
I wouldn't
why-
doubt it. And
You know,
so that
it's
whole
been a
that whole area where it was filmed in Los Angeles. Did you ever go there?
Where was it?
It was up in Pacific Palisades somewhere up there.
Was it
around that
Palisades
area.
or Vasquez Rocks?
I think it was Palisades. Anyway,
Yeah.
after this last fire, all that stuff that was there, because they
Oh.
still had the set there, because
Mhm.
people would go up there and whatever, and actually it all burned down.
Oh, that's
Mm.
sad.
Yeah,
Hmm.
but you know,
That was one of
that's
my favorite shows. That truly was one of my favorite shows.
that's
growing up.
that's for another show, for another conspiracy, saying that people
Yeah.
actually set it on fire because they wanted to buy land for the Olympics. That's this huge.
I
Oh, you
mean,
mean what they're doing?
Yeah,
That's a whole
yeah.
nother show.
No, that's for
So
a
I can
different
tell
type
you-
of show, because my show is
Yeah.
not about that. So
That's a
just-
whole other show.
yeah.
I can tell you my memories of MASH, where that as soon as that tune came on, I knew it was time to turn off the TV
Because it was like late at
it was
night.
midnight.
Yeah. No, it
And-
was 10:30. It was 10:30.
Okay, was it? And I was pretty little when it was doing reruns, but I knew, one, I wasn't interested in watching MASH, and
Oh,
two,
I
it was
loved
really
it.
late. I was
Oh
like,
no,
man.
I loved it.
And there was no cable in those days, so you had the few channels that were still
Yeah.
on that hadn't played the national anthem and gone to the color
Yeah.
bars yet. And then MASH came on, I was like, oh man, turn
Time
on
to
the
go to
radio.
bed.
Yep.
So the Tilley clan is actually checking in. Melissa says Cody Tilley's here too. He is driving. Ezra says he loves you and wants to give you a hug.
I love you guys.
So yeah, the whole clan is here. So if you guys have questions, please keep reminding everybody that you guys can call or type in your questions on the social medias, and we'll read them out for you. So, but
I have a question for Kathy.
Yes.
How long does it take for an emboli to form big enough to cause a problem? Is it minutes? Is it hours?
That's a great question. So I will tell you from what I've seen, I don't know the book answer, is it could be just a few hours. We've had patients come in the ER that just drove from, I don't know, Houston 3 or 4 hours, and they're coming to the ER with calf pain, and they've got a blood clot in their calf from just sitting in the car. So that's why you hear people say,
Wow.
stop every 2 hours, get out and walk around the car. You ever heard that? So
Yeah.
just because immobility, like long airplane flights, immobility is probably one of the hugest risk factors of getting blood clot develop in one of your veins in your legs.
So when somebody comes in and so let's live hypothetically that these requirements have been put in place to do the screening for embolism being a high risk like David would have been. What actions would a doctor or staff take to reduce that risk?
So when he had his pre-op lab, that's ideally where this would have happened, because you have lab tests done. They did a chest X-ray to make sure his heart was okay. They did an EKG. I mean, it's kind of they did some pre-screening. Had they screened for pulmonary embolus, they would have postponed the surgery. And there are ways you can actually dissolve the embolus if you identify it. His would have been in his leg. So there's a couple things you can do. That's a
do they do that by blood thinners?
And blood thinners is an option. But now they can do, there's a procedure, I don't know what it's called, they can do actually in radiology where they can actually kind of dissolve the clot. And that's the ones that are in your leg. So,
is that also like, what's sonar? What's the thing they do?
A sonogram?
Sonogram,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one way that's probably one of the key ways they diagnose these is sonogram. We'll do a sonogram on a patient's calf and see a blood clot. And then for David, they would have done, there's a sonogram on the heart. Don't ask me what it's called, echo something, that they could have done heart and lungs to identify if he had. So one of the concerns we had is another place you can develop blood clots is right where your lungs go right and left. It's called the bronchus. There's a split there. And a lot of times blood clots will develop on top of that. And they're called saddle bronch emboli. And one of the theories that one of our doctors looking at the case is that he probably had a saddle PE or bronch, and then that during the surgery that broke off and created the pulmonary embolus. And those are sadly pretty lethal.
Right.
But had they identified it, they have a technique in radiology that they can dissolve it.
So
that's the aggravating part.
yeah. So I want to read the purpose of the bill, or the act, I should say. The purpose is to enhance the patient safety by requiring surgeons, hospitals, and ambulatory surgical centers to perform and document a preoperative risk assessment for pulmonary embolism for the patients undergoing surgical procedures in Texas, excluding emergency surgeries where immediate action is required. The requirements. Go ahead.
Well, again, we're taking that to a national level.
Right. And I mean, it was written in Texas. So, obviously that the scope has changed, because I think you're right. It should be a national thing, because it's gonna affect a lot of more people. And have you done any assessment in regards to how this could affect insurance companies and or coverage?
That's an interesting question. So I don't have a specific dollar for pulmonary embolus, but I can tell you right now, Medicare pays about 1.5 billion a year in medical errors and medical conditions that aren't supposed to happen. So this is one of those, but I don't know the breakdown for that. But that's a lot of money to care for people that have had pulmonary
But see,
embolus.
what we're also told is when we're looking at numbers, they're so skewed because so many things
Could happen.
they settle out of court. So the numbers,
You don't have them.
you don't have them.
Yeah.
Do you think they write a lot of NDAs?
Oh, for sure.
Every settlement.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Mm.
Sometimes I just don't think people realize the doctor says, okay, he didn't make it. It was a blood clot. I don't think families are aware it should not have happened. But it should not have happened.
Do you think most people just assume it was like a blood clot or PE is just a natural occurrence that happened along after
Well,
the
you want to
surgery?
hear what's crazy?
That's kind of what it was explained to Whitney. Yeah, they happen.
Well, what was explained to me was, and I quote, I see this all the time. What we don't live in a major city. What do you mean you see this all the time? You shouldn't see this all the time. This should not be something that happens. When it is something that you can catch and you can treat,
right?
It should not be seen by a coroner.
Yeah.
According to the CDC, 100,000 people die annually from a pulmonary embolus. That's a lot of people.
Does it break down how many of those are surgery related or?
No, it does not. I think we pulled that data. I don't have that in front of me, but that's just unbelievable number. And sometimes for example, they may present to the emergency room, but the emergency room doesn't pick up that it's a pulmonary embolus. They may think it's something else. So they go home and pass at home. I think, again, it's awareness. It's awareness that it's out there, it happens, it's common, and we need to really keep a lookout for it.
The sad thing is that they didn't request an autopsy. They didn't need to do any of that. They didn't need anything. They went by what the anesthesiologist said, what the surgeon said, and that's how she ruled it. It was a pulmonary. They did nothing. They didn't have to do anything because she already knew what it was. They already knew what it was. He had been immobile. And that was that.
That's the sad part. They knew what it was. They should have suspected what could happen.
So they waited.
An hour prior.
Hindsight. They knew what it was. And I know they knew what it was because in the middle of all of this, I was told while they were still trying to resuscitate him, I was told that they administered TPA. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. It just stuck in my head.
Clot buster.
It's a clot buster. It's a freaking clot buster. They waited 30 freaking minutes into CPR and gave him that clot buster 20 minutes. It's too late. It was too late.
Wow.
But they knew.
So who was the governing authority over recommendations versus requirements for medical procedures?
That's a Kathy question. I think it's the Texas Medical Board for state.
Actually, so a lot of our standards come from CMS, Medicare. And then for the VA, it would be the VA. And then that is the Texas Medical Board, as well as for orthopedic surgeons, it's the American Association of Orthopedic Surgery that sets out the standards of care for those physicians.
Wow.
There's a lot of entities that tell these guys how to practice.
I'm at a loss of words because it's like I'm thinking of the whole timeline. I'm thinking of like of everything that could have gone wrong, went wrong, and it just seems like the response was, for a lack of a better term, and people are going to kill me, I guess, it was sort of mediocre. Like they just like, oh, sorry. I mean, it just always feels like.
You know what it makes me think of? And it makes me think of so many other occasions that everybody sees a wrist, but oh well, nothing's happened, so we'll just wait till something happens. The accident that family had Christmas Eve or whenever it was, you've got wide open ditches that are rivers. Everybody knows that that's a hazard. One person's already died. And it's like, oh, well, now we'll put up some guardrails after the fact, even though we knew it beforehand. Because all I can think of is what this sounds like to me is we've got at the busiest intersection in town.
Yes, that's exactly what I was.
We're gonna let people figure it out.
Let's see how many accidents we have
And then
before we put
after
up
there's
the light.
accidents, then we'll put a light in.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense to me, but it seems like the same thing.
It's being reactive, not proactive.
Yeah.
But it's
Much
not
more
just
thing.
that. It's not being it's being reactive when you already know what proactive steps you can
Right.
take. It's not like you have to. We don't really know how we'd fix this. You put a light in the intersection. You already know.
Yeah.
How do you keep a car from going off this highway? You put the guardrails up. We already know.
Yeah.
And in this, they have all the procedures to clean up the mistake after the fact, or hopefully it doesn't happen during the surgery, but they also know how to measure it beforehand, and they just choose not to.
Well, it's like those ambulatory surgery centers. They are getting you in and they are getting you out. They are pushing the people in.
Yeah.
You're
You're a
pushing
number.
them out.
You're like,
And
let's go.
David was one of those people. So just take an extra 5 minutes.
Mhm.
Like these people that are in there have families. And that extra 5 minutes, well, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yeah.
So what's even more disturbing is now they know, this physician knows, the hospital knows what happened, and they can put interventions into place to keep it from happening again. But I'll put money on it. They haven't done anything.
Have you had
My job, my business is I go in and work with these teams to put something into place to learn from what has happened.
have you had any interviews and or meetings with the hospital after this? I mean,
Is
I
that
don't
going
know.
to be deposition?
So, but I'll address that. So that's the hard part, because again, that's my job, is to go in and work with this team to keep it from happening again. But we are looking at some other options. I will tell you that Whitney sent them a letter explaining how upset she was and outlined everything.
A 4-page letter.
And the response was what? A paragraph?
Their response back to me,
Oh, well, thank you.
they could not even mention him by name. They not one in their probably 10 lines did they once mention my husband. They called him your husband. Never once mentioned his name. And I flew, well, it wasn't pretty.
You blew a gasket.
Yeah,
So, so that letter it just reminds me of that movie White Chicks. You threw a BF, right?
For sure.
And
For sure.
Taylor says, "Oh boy." But that's kind of what it reminds me of. I mean, that's just sad. The fact that they can't even mention a name or make it personable. Sorry,
absolutely not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what? So in my background with service recovery, I make a phone call the next day. How are you doing? Sorry this happened. I mean, there's no follow-up in the physician or this medical center. This is just like an assembly line. It reminds me of Lucy Ethel in the chocolate factory. They're just doing one after another. Some are falling off, some aren't. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
I get to this day, I've got a stack of bills that I keep getting from them, and they are not going to see a dime of money from me. I got one today. I think I got 2 or 3 last week.
Kathy, do you think their minimal response and lack of name mentioning is just to not say anything that would be used later as something showing they're culpable?
Maybe so. But they are required by these accreditation agencies I tell you about. They're actually required to address all of her bullet points in the letter that she wanted to address.
Oh.
They don't have to go into detail, but they have to say.
They have not addressed anything?
What kind of time frame do they have?
I thought it was 30 days. 30 days or
30 days.
When did you write this?
The letter was delivered because, I'm a female and sometimes we are petty people.
No, not you.
Sometimes.
Okay.
It was my idea.
It was because we are petty
So there
people.
it is. We are an investigative team here.
Yeah.
Also can do that job pretty well. It was delivered via courier on Christmas Eve.
Registered?
Absolutely.
Merry Christmas, because you've ruined ours. We hope you have a nice one.
I hope that they set their Christmas day and thought.
And here we are, April Fools, April 1st.
Yeah, this is no joke.
And you have not received anything
other than their original. We received your letter. I have not received anything back from them.
Who sets the guidelines for the 30 days, Kathy? Is that still Texas Medical Board?
No, that's actually a CMS. When I say CMS, I'm talking about Medicare, Medicaid. That's a CMS standard. And they pretty much set the standard because they pay so much money for medical care. They kind of set the standard across the board for care.
So who enforces the infractions?
Actually, CMS will in the state of Texas. We are kind of in a holding pattern with that right now. I can't say anything else.
It's a whole nother world of
This
laws.
is like an onion. It's like an onion.
Yeah.
You just keep peeling layers.
Easy,
and
Shrek.
layers
Okay, just
and
take it
layers.
easy, Shrek.
But I will tell you that that's the education piece that everyone should know. If you're unhappy with service or something happened, you have the right to file a grievance with the facility, and they are required within 30 days. They're required to acknowledge it, and one within 30 days give you some type of valid response. They don't have to details depending on what the circumstances are, but they're required to address your concerns.
So, Kathy, you mentioned that when you were the next day that when you had surgery, when you performed the surgery at the hospital you worked at, you called the patient and said, "Hey, how are you doing?" and everything like that. Did anything happen to you? Did they call you the next morning like, "Hey, I'm sorry this happened"? Nothing. No communication at all.
None.
No.
Well, the bills.
Yeah. Well,
None. Well,
Well, talk about bills. Go ahead, Whitney. Tell them.
I'm just going to lay it out. So you know how you go in and you have to prepay like your insurance.
You copay.
Thank you. So that Monday,
Mm-hmm.
the day before surgery's on a Tuesday. I went and paid the surgery center and the orthopedic surgeon.
So how much was it? Can we ask that?
I $318.54 to the orthopedic surgeon and like $1,500 to $1,800 to the surgery center.
15?
1,500 to 1,800. I don't remember exactly what it was. And I didn't, I come home without him that Tuesday. I am not in a mental state. I don't even know that I brushed my teeth, if I'm going to be completely honest with people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what was going on, but I looked Friday morning. So I paid it on Monday to both of them.
Right.
It was taken out of my account Monday night. He dies on Tuesday. And the orthopedic surgeon refunded my $318.54 Wednesday morning.
Well, that seems like an admission almost, right there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've not heard not a letter, not a phone call, not an email, not a text, not a, here's your $318.54. Sorry, your husband died.
Sounds like they want to make it never happened. Oh, we never had the money. We don't have his name in our records.
Well,
your husband
Yeah.
and no payment.
Yeah.
No David, no money.
Yeah, they refunded the money.
Pretend it didn't happen at all.
But this is just the surgeon, though. I mean,
It's just the surgeon.
the medical center didn't even do it.
I did file. I did when all this happened. I did speak to insurance and let them know, like, under no, do not pay a dime to them. That's not how that works. They are contracted to pay everything, and the insurance paid $35,000. So I figured the $4,000 they keep coming after me for, they've gotten plenty.
Is that the surgeon or those?
That's the
surgeon?
hospital.
No, the surgeon refunded the money.
Well, I'm sure he got some Medicaid.
Who
money,
knows?
right?
Well, I mean, I don't know who pays. I mean, the insurance paid it.
Yeah.
And David had great insurance, fantastic insurance.
Just through the Plano?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, since you changed the scope of the Tilley Act to focus more on federal, is there going to be anything done at the state level, a recognition or resolution suggesting it or anything?
Actually, that's a great point. I need to reach out to our Whitney's. We would do it from where she lives, the Sherman area. So I need to reach out to them and see if they'll do a recognition on the floor, House floor, and Senate floor, because they do that. Yeah.
I'm gonna reach out to a couple people that they have
I want to say this, like, and no, shortly after David passed away, I posted a video last week, I believe, on my Facebook, and I don't remember if it was Kathy told me about the Caprini score, which is mentioned in the
Yeah,
in the
I
bill.
mentioned it earlier.
You go online, you just Google Caprini score,
Mhm.
and it takes. I think I said it took 3 minutes, and it's age, weight, length of surgery, and then some past medical history kind of questions,
Mhm.
and it's scored like 0 or 1 to 8, and then 9 or greater. When I put everything in as David was on November 26th prior to surgery, David scored a 19,
Oh wow.
a freaking 19. So, yeah.
What was the max?
Well, there is no max.
Oh.
Anything
Right.
over 8? You
Anything
said
over 9, 9 or
over
greater.
9. Oh.
And 9 or greater was 30 days on an anticoagulant
Mhm.
like heparin or whatever, and then obviously postpone surgery.
Yeah.
And those compression devices.
Wow.
But that's something that everybody can do. That is a Google search, Caprini score. So if you're immobile for any length of time prior to surgery, Google it, figure out where you fall in that, and talk to your doctor.
Yeah. I want to
ask. I think anybody going into any surgery, just ask. I'm just curious. Am I at risk for blood clot or pulmonary embolism? Please rule that out.
I mean, I have a precious friend who her mom went into surgery. I believe it was yesterday, and we were talking about it last week at an event. And I'm like, take the test, make her take the test, and she did. I never heard back where she fell, but she did have surgery. Like in the risk assessment, she had surgery yesterday. The surgery went well, so thankfully. But people are out there doing it, and
so you're already making an impact.
I'm trying.
by
I'm trying. I am trying.
advocating the Caprini
And
score.
the day that I posted that on my Facebook, I woke up that next morning to, I don't even know where she was from. We have no mutual friends. She just said that February, like 2 months ago, she lost her baby. I want to say it was February 25th, lost her baby, and had a PE, but she survived her pulmonary embolism. She didn't give me any specifics. She just said, thank you for doing this. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
And so just take the test.
Yeah. So for all those that are listening right now, we have several people here on listening. Please share this stream. It's important for us to get the word out. Please share it with all your friends, families, please. That way we can get this act passed and everything, so people can be aware and hopefully get some leverage and some movement on this, because I think it's going to be impactful. One, because it's definitely going to impact the way that pre-registrations are, the way that insurances are gonna look at this as well, and also like change patients' rights.
For sure.
I think,
and it's so easy.
Yeah,
One would think.
Yeah, I mean the actions being requested are so easy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's not an extra step that they're going to take. I mean, if they're already asking for
known information,
exactly.
Yeah.
We're already asking for certain amount or certain things.
Right.
This is not going to be anything more than another 10 seconds.
But my thing is, until this is not going to be something that happens in the next 6 months. Like, this is a process that is absolutely bananas. But in the meantime, you can take that test and you hold the power at that point. You have the knowledge to take to your doctor in your hands, and then y'all can have that discussion. Because I mean, when you have something like that, and I did follow up it, he wrote it 20 years ago. It's been around since 2005. It is Dr. Caprini from the University of Chicago. That's who words are hard, who he's affiliated with. So he's not just
I know I think EMS and everybody currently use that.
So I mean, but taking that test and seeing where you fall, and if you fall if you score in an area where you're uncomfortable, and I will tell you, I would be uncomfortable at a 1 or a 2, just to clear that up. Take that to your doctor and force the issue.
This makes me think of,
There's actually, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Kathy. Your
So,
information is probably way better than mine.
Well, there's actually a couple of scores. We talk about Cuprini a lot. My favorite is Geneva. And that's the one I think we did with David that he would have scored maximum high because it involves fracture, fall, what else? Age. Anyway, it's more points. So anyway, there's multiple tests out there, and everybody Googles everything. Google it. Google pulmonary embolus test or blood clot test, and do it.
Are we able to put that?
Especially our veterans, to learn that veterans are at a higher risk because of potentially their history. Ask your doctor. Hey, I just did this podcast and I learned that because I'm a veteran and I had trauma as a in the Army, I could be at risk for having a blood clot. Ask them. If they blow you off, find a different doctor. But they should be able to tell you that's a good question and rule that out on your behalf.
Yeah, then that goes along with kind of what I was gonna say there at the same time was a lot of my business interactions for the last 10 years have been with attorneys and different things. And I've always, what I learned is, and always recommend to people is you have the power, the attorney's representing you. And if they're not representing you in a way that you want it to be, get another attorney because most people, and I think this case is similar, most people, if they have an interaction in a courtroom or have to hire an attorney for something, they only do it one time in their life, maybe a couple of times if they're in business and get lawsuits from business related things. Yeah. But most people don't spend any time of their life in a courtroom or having to hire an attorney for anything. And so when you're in that business, you get used to it. And so you have your third party goggles and you kind of know how things are going to go. And oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. People still worry because it's their only experience with it. Right. Yeah. But people also trust so much in the people that they've hired. They don't take the initiative to say, I don't want that deal, or that's not how I want it represented, and find somebody else that's working literally for them, not just taking a check from them. And this sounds like a very similar situation where if you have the knowledge when you go in, you can tell the surgeon or doctor, this is my concern, and not just blindly follow because they have that's their job. People in jobs and careers, they get cruise control, right? Cruise control. And so sometimes you got to make sure you're your number one advocate, right?
Exactly.
Nobody's looking out for you like you're looking out for you. And I see a lot of similarity in, if you don't like the attorney you have, your divorce isn't going the way you want because the attorney's not fighting hard enough for you, get a different attorney.
Same with doctors.
And so, with doctors and surgeons, if they're not listening to you, if you're doing these tests and you feel like you're high risk, don't just blindly go through the doors because they're saying it.
Right.
Go with your gut feelings. Those things are pretty good. Gut feelings.
I mean,
they work really well.
This one's followed me around for over 40 years and she hadn't lied to me yet.
Yeah. So, gut feelings do that, but always be your own advocate no matter what it is.
You can ask your nursing staff too. They're supposed to advocate for our patients as well. I see Sonia put a comment in the chat and she's exactly right. You don't have to have surgery or injury. She was just immobile for a few weeks, and that alone, immobility is such a huge risk factor. So thank you, Sonia, for putting that in there.
Yeah. And then Godric Marlowe said, "Love you, Whitney. We all miss you." So
hey, Bob.
Yeah. Man, it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow in the fact that it's so easy to be able to talk about it. What's the term? Monday morning quarterback or whatever. But like you said, you're your biggest advocate, and you're the one that actually should be able to tell the doctor, hey, I have some concerns. What about this? What about that? And if we ourselves don't educate one another or things like that, obviously the worst can happen, and you just don't know, because anything can, like Sonia said, that could be sedentary for 3 weeks and not even know about it, and you have a blood clot all of a sudden. So you definitely have to do.
It's tough though. I can see the difficulty because you don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
You didn't know that you needed to be screening for that, maybe, right? Probably not.
No, and I will say that he did have some ankle pain, like substantial ankle pain. And David was one, he didn't complain. ever. He did not complain. And one night his feet were cold and he had asked for socks. So go put the socks on him. I could not, it hurt him so bad. I could not, he would not let me put a sock on. So granted, this was, 3 or 4 days after a fall. So when we get into the doctor on that Friday, on the 15th, I mentioned that to the doctor. Like it's red, it's, it's warm to the touch,
tender, sensitive,
super, super sensitive. Like not even sensitive.
Was it swollen at all? Like, was it like?
It was puffy. It was puffy. It not swollen, but it was just puffy, more than normal. And I brought that to his attention. I'm like, can we do an X-ray on his ankle? Like maybe the way he fell, maybe he injured his ankle. I don't know. And he's like, well, this is literally what he said to me. It's kind of like when you hurt your shoulder, your elbow's going to hurt too. So I was like, well, touche, get it. But at the same time, again, if I could go back, my life would be different right now.
Yeah, I mean, we think about it now, and you're like, oh, if right after he fell, you probably could have taken him to a different place, or you just always think about all the other possibilities. Unfortunately,
But I was also looking at surgery within 8 to 10 days, and we were already on day 8 by the time we saw the doctor. Going and finding another doctor would postpone the surgery more, and then we were rolling up on Thanksgiving, and
feeling a little obligated then at that point.
I feel like we were committed, and going back, there's things I would have changed. I wouldn't have waited until that Friday, that's for sure. I would have found another doctor.
So now that you've kind of identified whether it's the Geneva or the Caprini score that people can do to self-assess to some degree and get a little bit of first-person power, other than doing those before you go in, what can people that are listening that don't have somebody going into surgery that just want to help, what can we do? What can Caesar and I do? What can anybody do to advocate for this kind of stuff?
Just get the story out there. But I will say, I know she prefers the Geneva score. She has medical background. Again, my knowledge is from Grey's Anatomy. I thought the Caprini score was a little more normal people written. The Geneva is more medical terms. So I feel like for me doing it, it was easier for me to do the Caprini, but she did great with the, I think,
every time I hear Geneva, it's a completely different term for me.
Right?
It's Geneva Convention, and just completely different term from military. So,
but I think it's just Geneva, the Geneva score, the Caprini score, whichever one. Take the test. Just take the test.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen either one of those. Can you tell me some of the? You kind of mentioned. Can you tell me what the questions are that it's asking?
So I've got the Caprini score pulled up here. So the first question is your age, sex, male or female. Type of surgery. So minor, major, or an elective major lower extremity. And then it just goes into, everything is like a 0 or a 1. If you have a plaster cast, you get 2 extra points. It's just, if you have a hip, pelvis, or leg fracture, you get 5 extra points. But when I went down and did it, I guess I deleted it. It was the same score. He was high risk. And when you go and do, it's not going to pull it up. But the high risk that's absolutely full stop. Don't go any further. 30 days on a anticoagulant and the compression socks or compression devices.
So, Kathy, I got another question for you then.
Yes.
If the Caprini or Geneva, they're so widely accepted and they're not new, they've been around, they're used in the setting. If it has such a black and white recommendation of hard stop and then recommends 30 days of thinners, etc., how does something that's that specific and that black and white still just get overlooked as a recommendation and not? That seems like no question of this is a risk.
That's really the incredibly puzzling piece, because if you look at, I actually pulled it up right here. If you look at the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, and their recommendations don't even have one of the scores, Caprini or Geneva. It just lists things you should look for, which are all the pieces.
Yeah, I pulled it up, and actually, I'm sharing the screen on it right now.
So that's and again, it's a professional. It's called a guideline recommendation for preoperative risk assessment to identify patients at high risk for developing a pulmonary embolism. But this is post surgery. They even identified preoperatively that you should be doing this. So, that's to me, in my heart, that's one of the first places we need to start is with the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, because that's the guideline these guys have to follow. And again, and they always leave it at recommendations, so it'll have to be one of our the VA and CMS that will make it a requirement, and that'll be a requirement probably for the medical facility. All patients coming in have to have the score done.
So other than the pressure sleeves or the pressure pants, is there anything that they can do during surgery to offset that? I mean, how do they justify proceeding with these kind of risks out there? Is there a way they can mitigate it during surgery, or is it completely like, let's wreck the shop and then we'll just try to pick up the pieces after it's done if something goes wrong?
I think they pick up the pieces when something goes wrong. They do have, they put on the compression hose during surgery. I never saw in David's medical record where they did this for him. So that was another.
So when I went back and got him dressed that day, because he broke his knee, they put one of those like compression socks on his left leg.
But not the right. Yeah.
But
and during surgery, I don't know what.
Aren't they supposed to be on both?
Well, but he was having surgery on his
leg,
right. Yeah.
Well, no, but I mean,
I don't know why.
I mean, even though it was okay.
Well, they're doing surgery on the other side.
I guess I was thinking, because you said knee, I was thinking just the knee, but then I guess it was also because he broke his tibia, right?
Well, I mean, it was just all right there under his right under his knee.
Yeah. Oh wow.
I was just thinking.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's literally stunning.
Yeah, I'm lost for words, man. I don't even know what to say anymore.
It just seems.
So I will say that some orthopedic surgeons, maybe the majority, do an assessment prior to surgery for a patient that could be high risk for doing this. Our surgeon did not.
So what do you think, Kathy?
I don't want to say that all orthopedic surgeons should be doing this and don't do it, because if any of them are listening or see this later, they'll say, I do that. What are you talking about? So some do.
Right. I mean, we can't speak for everybody that they do it.
Since it's not a requirement, who knows?
Exactly. But the one that performed this didn't do it. So that doesn't go that you're not accusing anybody or anything like that they don't do it. I'm just saying that
it's just not widely practiced.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you have any idea of, is it half of them? 60%?
Who knows?
Just literally no idea.
Knows?
But I'm sure I don't think there's any numbers, man. I mean, if it's not a requirement, yeah. Because I don't know if they document. I mean, obviously they document the fact that they give you a preoperative brief, but I don't know if they actually document what was.
We should put up a poll specifically for orthopedic surgeons.
I'd love to see it.
Do you do this and see how many?
I don't know. How many would actually admit it?
I don't know.
Well,
if it's anonymous poll.
Anonymous, yeah. If it's an anonymous poll,
or does your office perform either one of these pre-risk assessments? And
so sadly, what we're going to probably have to go to is the healthcare, the surgical center is going to be required to document this assessment. The physician does it, but it's going to be a requirement. So that we can poke and prod the doctor. Have you done this? Very similar. Before you undergo anesthesia, there's a certain assessment that anesthesiologists are required to do to see how you're going to tolerate anesthesia.
Are surgical centers under a different standard than hospitals?
No, same standards. There's some things they may operate differently, but surgery. So wherever you have it, same standards.
Okay.
And hopefully this surgeon here, this is what's really the most disturbing part is, to this date, I promise you, he's not doing any type of risk assessment. This should have been a brick hitting him in the head. Wow, I should have identified this patient as a high risk, and from now on, I'm going to check all my patients and make sure they're not high risk and document that. But I can promise you.
He told me that everything went well.
Yeah,
and at the same time he's telling me everything went well. There's an anesthesiologist still in the OR with my husband who can't wake him up.
Yeah.
Why didn't he not get transported when he coded? Why didn't they call when he go to emergency room?
He coded around 1:30
in the afternoon.
And I think they did his time of death a little before 1:30 or 2:30. They worked on him for
about an hour.
You know,
At the
He was
not in an emergency room, right?
No, in the OR.
So that's why I'm
Never
asking.
been to
Why
OR.
wasn't he transported to an emergency
I
room?
don't, well,
It was too unstable. They wouldn't have.
Well, nobody in the emergency room generally is stable. So does this type of outpatient place? Do they have epi? Do they have adenosine? Do they have emergency drugs?
I'm sure they do.
but
Why
They-
would they? Do they? I don't know.
They're required to have that.
I know they have an ER doctor. I mean,
Well, they did. They prescribed him epi. They pushed epi.
Okay.
I
Well,
remember
that's I don't
seeing
know
it.
what their capabilities are.
I remember seeing it, and I think they pushed it several times.
I think at that point, that's what my question was with the standards. I don't know if they would have an ER, doctor at that point if something does go wrong. Obviously, they have the surgeons, but they're not.
I feel like you would want an emergency.
Yeah, they don't
situation.
have a surgeon. To me, like I feel like they're very very specialized, but I don't think they would have that capability of doing because they're
or
not
the
used
staff
to that.
or the staff. I mean, you got a staff there that doesn't deal with.
Well,
That's an excellent point. You have a staff that doesn't do this.
So,
I
all
was,
the
so you
time.
got your respiratory therapist
I
come
will
in.
say this from the minute all this happened. This is going a little deeper than what I really want to go, but I will say this. From the minute everything happened, that code blue sounded, and I was out of my seat and at that door to that search where we took him back, and there was, from the minute that happened to the minute they told me, to the minute that my family at that point left that surgery center, I kept thinking how compassionate they were. In the back of my head, I was like, they're just really nice. They were scared. That wasn't compassion. It was fear. It was fear.
Yeah. Because I just
because it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
That's an inexperienced staff for that type of situation. That's not experienced in that. Do you have a full drug kit? You have bicarb. You got, I guess you have epi, adenosine if it needed, et cetera, and
they're not equipped to handle something.
You're just
like that.
not. Yeah, you're just not ready for that. If your day-to-day stuff is just procedural, pre-planned operations, and then I guess they had the TP clot buster.
Yeah.
But they waited so long. I think that really is a reflection on the experience in that situation and the staff, because I think the nursing staff probably would have been recommending TPA a lot sooner if they had been in an emergency scenario, experienced with emergency scenarios versus outpatient care.
Sorry, like isn't the dream of every RN nurse, and Kathy, maybe you can attest to this, to get out of the trauma and then go to like one of these, hosh posh, type
Easy
of
breezy surgery centers.
Oh yeah, I'm out. I only work my 8 hours. I'm out.
Yeah.
And they just feels to me that they just seem to forget.
Well, you're going to have skill decay,
right?
They are required, the standards are required to do what we call mock codes and rehearse and go through, be familiar with the code card. One thing we were concerned about, so TPA can be administered when you suspect this pulmonary embolism. It dissolves the clot. And we were concerned because Whitney said they had brought a cart later, 15, 20 minutes later into the room.
When I jumped up and that code blue sounded, I was standing at that door. It was within seconds. I saw them push a cart in that area.
We don't know what that cart was.
I don't know if it was like a crash cart. I don't know if it was just something for somebody. I don't know.
I just can't believe as soon as that happened, why weren't they on the horn with 911 getting the ambulance?
You would think, or transfer over to a.
Even if you go to a standalone ER, which is by definition an emergency room, they still transport you to a full blown hospital if it's something more than routine. Yeah. So I gotta think an outpatient is less equipped for an emergency room situation than a standalone ER would be.
Yeah, I feel like it's time for us to take a small break, because I know Whitney just said that she didn't want to get too deep into this, so we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna play a video that I so love to play every time I'm here, but you are listening to the Battle Room podcast today. It's been one of those days that we took a different route usually than what we normally do, because we are always about veterans. But this is going to be impactful for a lot of people. So you are listening to the Battle Rhythm Podcast here on Voice of the People Radio and TV Network, also on Patriot Radio and Busey Digital. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Please enjoy this video. And this is called The Tootsie Roll Man.
As he approaches his 96th birthday, Jim Hahn still remembers intimate details about his time serving as a Marine in World War II, the Korean War, and the Vietnam War. And he also remembers how it all started.
Mother wasn't going to sign. I told her, I said, if you don't sign this, I'll lie about my age. And she signed.
He was inspired to enlist when walking down the street at 16 years old. He tells K10 he saw some people messing with a Marine and his girlfriend.
They was doing anything they could try to make him mad. He told his girlfriend there to go down and wait for him at the red light at the end of the street there. He turned around and whipped all four of those guys.
A year later, he was off to San Diego for basic training. Hahn joined the occupation force in both China and Japan during World War II, which marks the only time in the history of Japan that it has been occupied by a foreign power. A bitter time these days, though. Gunnery Sergeant Hahn holds tight to the sweeter moments.
It's going into Japan, there, into town. I seen all these little kids running around there, and they looked like they was hungry and everything else. So I started in getting candy from our PX and taking it in there and giving it to the little kids. It got to where whenever I'd come inside the city limits, man, here come all these kids.
What he didn't realize at the time, candy would one day become his lifeline. In November of 1950, just a few months after the Korean War began, 8,000 fighters, mostly Marines, were trapped in the Chonjin Reservoir, surrounded by 120,000 Chinese soldiers. And you guessed it, Sergeant Hahn was one of those Marines.
If somebody told me this, I'd have thought of him as being a liar, because I did not think that it would get 90 degrees below zero. I seen guys just walking along, and all of a sudden I could stop walking, and they just did. They'd freeze to death while they was walking.
Freezing, barely hanging on to life. The Marines called for ammunition using their code word, Tootsie Roll.
I never will forget that. They got on the radio there and talking to them, said, send us some Tootsie Rolls. And they was talking about ammunition, a certain type of ammunition.
Well, the soldier on the other end of that radio took the message literally, and they dropped into the reservoir Tootsie Rolls.
Here's just 3 planes there coming out with these parachutes coming down there with Tootsie Rolls. It's supposed to be ammunition, but it's Tootsie Rolls. But if it hadn't been for them, a lot of us, including me, would probably starve to death.
Those little chocolate candies were the fuel that sustained the troops. All other provisions were frozen, so they survived on the chocolate.
It seemed impossible that they was there for any other reason than to save my life. I thank God many times for the fact that I lived through all of it. Didn't lose any arms or legs or anything that way. I sat in this foxhole, people all around me freezing. And some reason or other I didn't.
He says all he thought about was his next breath and how he would use it.
I don't know, I still think about it sometimes. I know that God saved me from it. Try to thank God 3 or 4 or 5 times a day about that.
Decades later, Sergeant Hahn literally holds on to that memory with a bucket of Tootsie Rolls made specifically for him with American flags after the company heard his story. Those Marines that made it out are now revered as the heroes of the Frozen Chosen. But this one calls Texoma home, and he chooses to spend his time right here in the Sherman VFW.
I feel like they're brothers. This, to me, is part of the military.
As this veteran reflects on a life of service most would never know, Hahn would do every second of it again. The few, the proud, the Marines. It was such an honor to be able to sit down with Jim, and I just want to say right here on the record, thank you for your service. Not only a World War II veteran, a 3-war veteran. He decided to just keep going back. I know.
And you know, I had heard that, I knew that there was something involving Tootsie Rolls, but that was the first time I actually heard that full story, and that is so incredible.
If you don't like standing on the sidelines but still want to make a difference, then tune in to the Battle Rhythm Podcast. Picture this. Fighter jets roaring through the sky, field artillery radars scanning the horizon, and soldiers charging forward, grit and determination etched on their faces. We start in black and white, honoring the past, but then, boom, it's full color, reflecting the vibrant, resilient spirit of today's veterans. The Battle Rhythm podcast isn't just about military strategy or historical battles. It's a lifeline for veterans, a platform for voices often unheard. We dive deep into mental health, tackle suicide prevention, and build strong community ties. With guests from non-profits to military advocates, we're here to make a difference, together. Join us every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Voice of the People USA radio and TV network, and be part of something bigger. Because when the battle ends, the rhythm continues. Subscribe now and let's march forward, united.
Welcome back to the Battle Rhythm Podcast. I'm Caesar. You're listening to us on Voice of the People Radio, TV, radio network, also on BUC Digital and on Patriot Radio. And we are here joined by Kathy Olson and Whitney Tilley, also with my good friend Aaron Busey, the one and only Aaron.
One with a million voices in my head, right?
Aaron. So we're gonna change gears a little bit. I want to give Whitney the mic here. She is going to read us a little something about David. How he was, who he was, and kind of get to know him a little bit. And then we're gonna change a little bit gears a little bit because I feel that by her reading this, she's gonna be able to give us a little bit more of an insight of who he was and how he was. So Whitney, it's all yours.
So I was going to read his eulogy, but it's been a minute. I read that at his funeral, and I don't know that I could read that again. So this was the bio portion that's included in the Tilley Act. David Tilley was a man defined by his unwavering commitment to his family, his community of Plano, Texas, and to his profession. A fervent public servant, he dedicated 24 years to the Plano Police Department, where he was the longest tenured public information officer in the department's history. His impact extended far beyond press conferences and media briefings. David was a trailblazer, launching the department's social media presence within the city, an invaluable resource the community is still using today. On top of his many accolades and impressive accomplishments, David received a particularly meaningful honor in 2018 when he was named Nextdoor.com's most trusted police officer in America. This recognition was not just another award added to his collection. It was a testament to the deep connections he built within his community, the steadfast integrity he demonstrated, and the countless ways he made a difference in people's lives. It was an honor he carried with immense gratitude and pride. David Charles Tilley was my soulmate, my northern star, and my calm in a chaotic world. He was the steadfast, unwavering balance in our family of 7, the rock we all leaned on. As the father of our 5 incredible boys, Taylor, Cody, Colton, Jackson, and Grayson, he led with love, patience, and an unshakable commitment to being present for every moment, big or small. He was committed to making the world better for others, never asking for recognition, only ever wanting to do what was right. His sudden passing from a pulmonary embolism shattered our world in an instant. It stole a father from his children and a husband from his wife. But grief alone is not enough. Action must follow. The Tilley Act is not just about honoring his memory. It's about preventing this kind of devastating loss for other families. It's about awareness, education, and implementing life-saving measures that could have kept David here with us. David's tragic and preventable passing has left a void that can never be filled. But through the Tilley Act, we strive to ensure that his legacy of service continues, not just in the community he served, but in the lives that can be saved by a simple yet critical change in medical protocol. His story is not just one of loss, but of purpose, a call to action to protect others from the same fate.
It's very impactful. It's
Everybody you see on TV is a regular dude with a family and doing things.
You got through it, okay? You're good.
Yeah.
The next door thing, that's really cool.
It's very cool.
Isn't she a beautiful writer? I keep on telling her she needs to do her own podcast and own blog. She's so
Well,
talented.
apparently you guys are going to start a new podcast here.
Well, I'm doing one with another girlfriend. I'm not starting one.
Oh,
I'm not going to start one. I can't start one.
You're gonna do
why
a
not?
book.
Why can't you start-
I'm starting one, and Caesar's going to guide me.
Gotcha. Well, you
wait, hold on. Why can't you start one?
I don't know.
I've already got the equipment and everything for you.
Oh, we've already talked about
Yeah, we
this.
talked about it. Yeah, you're set up if you want it.
We'll see. We'll see.
There you go.
I mean,
You
I've
do a
got a lot to
companion book?
say. I've got a lot to say.
No, not you.
No, I mean, you know, life, it's just life stuff. Like
Yeah,
life
yeah.
stuff. It's, you know, maneuvering through, you know, your life being obliterated and trying to pick up the pieces.
Or this that's
You
just
know,
called a
but-
support group, though.
Prior to all this, though, you had a lot to say anyway, just on any given day.
Aaron.
No, I didn't say it in a bad way. I don't mean a bad way.
I mean,
But you're definitely not an introvert when we go
No.
go places. So
No.
you always have plenty on
No.
your mind to chat about.
you've seen her Facebook page. She just blogs about everything and life, and people
And I
love
should say,
that.
Aaron and I know each other, like,
Yeah,
from around town.
from around.
Around town.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Work.
Was he
stuff.
driving
Yeah,
his
work stuff.
5.0?
Had the rag top down.
down with her.
Yeah.
We do stupid references.
Yeah.
all the time.
Golly.
Oh man. But all right, so we're gonna change gears a little bit. I'm gonna throw a curveball at you because I think this is one of my favorite segments, and
This is
it's
terrifying.
no. Why is it terrifying? You don't even know what it is. You don't even know what it is.
All right.
So we're gonna play my favorite segment.
Oh gosh.
It's called.
Oh gosh.
It's not called Oh Gosh. It's a
Rapid fire.
rapid fire question. All right, rapid fire questions. The segment is brought to you by EGA Construction from my good friend Lynn Toomer, who is currently running for the VFW National Junior Vice Commander in Chief for the year 2026-27, I believe. I think it's 1 year. So, he's out there on the campaign trail right now and going through. So this is his favorite segment. This is why he sponsored this segment, because he loves this. Because the questions that are asked. Here's the thing. The object of the whole game for both you, Whitney, and Kathy, is to answer ridiculously just random questions that the first thing that comes to mind is what you're going to answer with.
That's what's terrifying.
Why? I don't understand it. Like,
we're on the internet, so
it's
not.
the internet says you speak French because the internet says you speak French. You know what I mean?
Oui.
Yeah, touche.
See,
Yeah, oui.
See.
All right. So, Kathy, since Whitney's here, I'm going to start with her first, and then we'll move on to you, and then I'm gonna ask the peanut gallery over here as well, and ask some questions. So, there we go.
Oh God. Okay.
Okay.
Whitney, you didn't tell me about this part.
I didn't know about this. Well, no, I did know about this part.
You're welcome.
My bad for never pre-watching your podcast. Guilty.
Oh, well, at least I have a fan now. Thank you. All right. The first question. All right. Why you don't need to? Can you?
Because I sometimes don't know what's going to come out of my mouth.
Hey, Tyler, can you close up on her? Because I just want people to see like the concerned look on her face. Like you don't even know what I'm going to ask you. That's the thing. You don't even know.
I hope it's things like what's your favorite cereal? Like ask me stuff, stupid stuff like that.
What would you say if it was
Adult cereal or like favorite kids
first
cereal?
thing
First
comes to
thing
your
comes to
mind?
Raisin Bran.
Lucky Charms.
That is a wide spectrum.
Raisin Bran.
Lucky
Lucky
Charms.
Charms, but adult cereal, Special K fruit and yogurt.
Mm.
I know.
What's your favorite indulgence?
Oh my gosh. Binging Netflix or something ridiculous.
Kathy, what about you? What's your
Vodka.
favorite indulgence? Podcast?
Oh.
Oh no, she's just buttering me up right now because she wants me to help her with her new podcast. That's probably the only reason why she's saying that. That's exactly. That's my story.
No, if I'm indulging on anything, it's for sure Netflix or Prime. I am sitting there.
What's your okay? Is that like your guilty pleasure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do you have a genre that you always go to? Documentary?
I do. Crime documentaries.
Yeah.
I love death and destruction. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I love like murder stuff. And
Yesterday, my wife Lisette, she was wearing I think it was yesterday, this week, last couple of days. She has a sweatshirt that she made that says crime or I can't remember what it says now. Something and murder shows. Murder
Yes.
shows, and it's like in red.
I need to
red
talk to her. I need
letters.
to know where she got
and
it,
she
'cause I
wears
need
it.
it.
Okay.
I need it.
My wife, she's like, and she gets upset with me once in a while, right? She's like, don't make me do this because I watch Lifetime and I know how to kill you 1,001 ways.
Seriously.
I was like, okay. I mean, that's fair. it's fair. So, all right, Kathy, what is your guilty pleasure?
Chocolate and vodka. I don't do.
Oh, that's like chocolate and vodka. Like,
Actually,
okay, so you're thinking like JD from Scrubs.
So-
Oh, I'll have the Appletini.
I mean, yeah, we're talking a chocolatini, or are
Yeah.
these two different things that are just equal?
No, straight. We're vodka people. I will vodka and Netflix. Those are my end. Those are
I
my
guess
guilty
the
pleasures.
operative piece is I don't feel guilty when I'm pleasuring myself with vodka and chocolate. So anyway.
Kathy.
God.
Where's-
This good thing that kids are not listening to this show.
God.
Phrasing.
Yeah, paraphrasing.
Don't ever say that
Anybody
in
watch?
the same
Does anybody watch
sentence again.
Archer? You ever watch Archer?
Yeah.
Phrasing.
All right. So
Phrasing.
Caesar. So
No,
Caesar.
I'm the host. I don't answer these questions. This is not
No,
applied
wait,
to me.
wait. This is quick for we get to ask you.
No, you don't get to ask me. I get to ask the questions here. No, I'm just kidding. Go
I want
ahead.
to know what your guilty pleasure is.
Mine?
His wife.
Well, of course, but I actually like to watch soccer. My wife's like, no more soccer. I was like, I do. I just sit there. Oh, the thing is called Murder Shows in Comfy Clothes. That's what
You tell us
Lizette-
that I'm buying that.
That's
I'm buying
hilarious.
that. I need that.
that-
I see. I love that. I just learned something more about you. That's fabulous.
No, I do. I would sit when we first met, like my wife and I first met, one of the first things that we went to was Mexico against Panama game in Chicago. And because she was out there and I went to visit her. And so we went to a game, and that was like one of the funnest times I had because we were so hungry. We went to the parking lot and they were selling tacos, and they're like, okay, are you gonna pay me? They're like, I think we're like what, $5 for $10 or something. And yeah, and they're like, okay, hey, you guys gotta scoot in because if they find out that we're selling the tacos, we get kicked out. So like, hey, primo, come over here. But the tacos were excellent. That was probably the funnest time. But yeah, like I'll sit and watch 2-4 hours. Like when the World Cup comes around, she knows like I'm gonna watch every game, like most of the games. So yeah, that's one. But yeah, what's your favorite sport?
Okay, I don't want to shock people, but I don't do sports. If I have to watch a sport, I want to watch it in person.
Okay, so what's your favorite sport to watch in person? Since you know what? Hold on. Since she likes death and chaos,
I'm gonna say
she's gonna say hockey.
Oh, I do love some hockey, but no, I like baseball.
All right. I'm down with that.
Now you're getting somewhere.
Hey,
But I'll
since
tell
you-
you why, because the Rangers have garlic fries at the ballpark.
The
and
boomstick.
they are the
Okay,
best
first of all-
things ever. Oh, I don't care. I just like
the food.
yeah. The beer's always cold
Okay,
and the food's
the
decent.
best stadium food that there is.
Dodger dog.
Dodger dogs.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Dodger dog.
did you see the new ones? Like the Dodgers are like literally like this long.
Like the boomstick.
Yeah, they're huge.
So the only bad thing about the Dodger dogs is they changed contracts. They don't use the same company that
It's
they
not. Yeah,
used
it's
to
not
use.
Jimmy
They
John.
changed.
It's Jimmy Dean's. It's not.
It was it's Farmer Brothers or Farmer.
No, it's Jimmy Dean.
Well, they changed, but
Yeah,
they
but now
changed,
it's like
the-
Farmer. Yeah,
the historic
something.
one that
Yeah.
everybody loved for
Yeah.
50 years. Yeah,
Oh,
they
yeah.
changed their contract like 2 or 3 years ago. And I don't know I haven't been out there to try the new one, but I'd gotten
Yeah.
that brand that they changed to, got it for home, and I was like, hey, this is not quite like a
The
Dodger
last
dog.
one, I think the last game we went to was on Mother's Day for her birthday.
Last year.
Nah, this is
Oh,
before we
probably.
moved out here.
Oh yeah,
This is back in 2019. Yeah, 2019. A buddy of mine, Ray Lara, he's a good friend of mine. He's about to be a first sergeant
Nice.
He's putting in his packet. Says yes,
Top.
soccer, hot dogs, and he says it depends on what you enjoy about the experience. Watching a game in person gives you the energy of the crowd, the atmosphere, and the full field view, so you can see plays develop in ways TV cameras don't always capture. There's also an excitement of being part of the moment, hearing the fans roar, feeling the stadium shake, and experiencing the game without commercial breaks, which is true. On the other hand, TV gives you replays, commentary, and better angles for key moments. True.
Replays is big.
Yep. You don't have to deal with traffic, expensive concessions, or bad weather. And Ray and his wife Patty and Cynthia and I and also our daughter Sophia, when she was 6 months, we went to a Dodger game all the time, right? We would go on like days and we would have great seats. And so we would go there. I asked him this, I was like, hey, did you go to opening day? He's like, dude, I'm not spending $800 on freaking opening days for the tickets for the Dodgers. I was like, I don't blame you. I was like, it's probably going to be even better. So it was one of those things. But
last time I went to a Rangers game, it's been a couple of years, several years probably. Lisette and I went. We didn't even take our daughter. It was just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
We shared food and drink. But after 2 tickets, and they were top deck behind home plate. They weren't even like good tickets, right?
Yeah.
2 tickets, parking, and sharing concessions. We were at $150.
That's not as bad as I would have thought. I thought
Well,
it would be more.
but here's the thing though. You can get the MLB TV and watch every single baseball game for the entire league
for
$150.
$119. It's
Yeah.
cheaper to watch every single game than to go to one
Yeah, but it's
local
the
game.
food. It's the food. It's the food.
Well, I don't disagree with that. So
Yeah,
just go to the
but
Big 12 tournament. They have the same food, but the games are cheaper.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big 12 games are awesome there. And you get to watch 3 or 4 games if you want to stay all day.
We would not go back to a Cowboy game.
Okay.
It's just so expensive.
Well, I mean, it is, but that is fun. That is people watching.
Oh, it's fun seeing them cry every time they lose.
No,
I love it.
well, I mean,
I
I
do.
don't like. I don't have a dog in any of these fights. I go for just.
You're the one.
fun.
Go my favorite sports team.
I do have a shirt that
Score the goal unit.
It's basketball.
I do have a shirt that says this is my This is my Mavericks, Stars, Rangers,
Cowboys.
t-shirt. So it just
all in one.
All of them. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you ever play any sports?
Absolutely.
No, not even as
I mean, you can look at me and tell that I don't have an athletic bone in my body.
I would not be able to tell
Yeah,
that. No.
I would have said that you probably played softball in high school.
No.
Oh, well, I was wrong.
No.
Kathy, what about you? What is your favorite sport?
Horse racing.
Yes.
Oh,
something.
It's a
not-
sport.
that's-
Those
That's-
jockeys and those horses train year round.
Car racing is a sport. Horse
Yeah,
racing is a sport.
NASCAR is a great sport too, yeah. And I played softball. That's my sport.
What
Oh.
position you play in softball?
Pitcher.
You're a pitcher?
Yeah.
The
I was a good
underhand or the
pitcher.
overhand? Was it the grandma throw or was it the underhand?
It's not a grandma throw. It's underhand, but I could put a spin on that ball and pop it up, and yeah.
Do
I
you still
was-
follow it, Kathy?
Yeah, and I'm left-handed, so I was even more terroristic. But I couldn't catch a ball for nothing, so I learned how to jump and duck. I had a great second baseman, so
I'll tell you what. I see some of the fast pitch softballs these college girls do.
amazing.
I'm scared to death to try to hit that stuff. And they're only 45 feet away too. So, baseball is 60 feet.
Yeah.
They're 45 feet away bringing
It's
that in.
amazing.
So
Girls,
I want to give a shout out to the city of Denison real quick. Jordan Starr, who's over Denison Parks and Recreation here,
Mhm.
she's organized a lot of different events. But here 2 weeks ago or a month ago, whenever it was, fairly recently, she actually had some of the OU, like Jada Coleman came in and did a camp at Grayson College for a lot of the locals and signed
Nobody told
autographs
me
and
anything?
stuff. I know, right? I actually wanted to go out just to poach an autograph, but they were charging like $200 just to do the camp and stuff. And so I didn't
Yeah.
want to go out there and push all these high school girls out of the way.
We
to-
got to
to
get
try to-
we got to
try
get
to
the
go.
media pass.
Yeah, next time I think we should. But
Yeah.
yeah, so she had Jada Coleman out here at Grayson College doing a clinic. I thought that was really cool.
Cody said that David was a Sooners fan.
yeah.
He was a Sooners fan. And I will tell you, he and I did not argue. We did not argue. He was
You
the
texted
same.
and argued. I've seen that before.
I am not a Sooners. So my oldest just graduated from A&M,
Mhm.
and my youngest is at Texas Tech. We are not Sooners people, but I mean, so close to Oklahoma right here. We love Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Just not a Sooners fan.
You know.
No hate. Just
No, I mean, I don't have.
I will say this: I like OU far more than I like University of Texas.
Well, that's enough, I think, to endear you to
Yeah.
everybody. I think hating
So,
Texas is good enough for OU fans to like you.
Ugh. Yeah.
Did you get some pictures in Austin of UT stadiums for
I didn't even look at that direction.
nostalgia?
Nope, sure didn't.
So, I've never really been an OU fan myself either, but the OU softball team had such an incredible run for the 3 years that they had that undefeated streak over the course of 3 seasons. It's like, how can you not root for those girls that are doing that? It was incredible. They had walk-off wins and comeback victories, like literally everything. It was like you're just waiting to see what kind of nonsense is about to happen that they're going to pull this one off, dude. It was great.
So I need to address something. It was brought to my attention by Taylor Tilley.
Taylor. He's lucky he doesn't. He lives in California.
Oh, good for him.
So
he's a smart dude. I'm sorry you have to pay so much money for freaking rent. Anyway.
Yeah.
Taylor, this is what he said.
Oh,
It says, from all the boys, thank you for giving Whit this platform to advocate for our father, and we appreciate you giving her the opportunity to share his story. She paid me a lot of money to do this. No, I'm just kidding. No, she did that. It's my pleasure. This is what we're here for. Like I said, when I first started this platform, it was to be informational, to get resources, to stuff like that. But when we start getting into the really nitty-gritty of it, I realize that there's a big need for bigger things, right? Because using this platform, having an audience that can actually listen to what there is and what the stories that can bring and the positive things that we can tackle, that to me is just a what's the word? A testament that the voice that I have or the platform that I have I'm able to help in some way.
You can enhance all these missions that are coming along, right?
Right.
Give them.
And eventually I'll have of all of the guests that I've had over the last year and a half. Occasionally I'll have updates on things like that. And Aaron was part of a great interview last week that we had Paul Reed. That great story that he had, and soon enough he's going to come back and do the second book that he has. And we expect for you to do the same when this does happen. And Kathy, Whitney said you can't come anymore. This is the last time. She said no. She said she went like this. She's like no more.
No, I'm glad you said that, because updates are really important. We want to keep your viewers posted.
Exactly, especially because if it's going on a national stage and it's going trying to go in front of a bigger fish, we definitely have to keep those in mind and make sure that everybody's what's the word? Informed. Right? It's what it is. And Aaron, I know this is why you started your business. I mean, the radio station. And you just kind of
informational. Yeah.
I
was geared more looking at doing it for nonprofits and small business, but things evolve and change, and any message that we can put out is always a good message. If positive, we're gonna make some change. So I want to ask Kathy and Whitney the same question, but have each of you answer individually. And Whitney, I'll ask you first before we wrap up. What call to action do you want to put out?
I think first and foremost is I did not have the knowledge that I have today. And I want people to take what they can, what you can do for yourself, and take one of these tests. If you are immobile, take one of these tests. It's truly life-saving. Had I known about this prior to David's surgery, I absolutely would have had him take the test. And
Yep.
Who knows?
Take the test.
Take the test.
Take the test and tell everybody you know about it, right?
Yeah. Take the test.
Kathy, what you have a little bit of a different perspective being legal counsel on it. What call to action?
It's actually so it's just what I do. When you go to the hospital, ask them, how are you going to keep me safe? It's their responsibility to keep you safe. Am I at risk for a blood clot? Am I at risk for an infection? How are you going to keep me from getting an infection? How are you going to keep me from falling? How are you going to keep my family from falling? And empower yourself to ask those questions. And I think that will help. And don't let them blow you off. Oh, you're not going to get a blood clot. I know there's certain tests you can do. I want to know if I'm at risk for a blood clot.
Right.
Empower yourself to know these things. So,
Knowledge is power.
It is.
I want to throw one little thing in here. It's about COVID. Because everybody's really thinking, oh my gosh, blood clots caused from COVID. COVID, first, it's up and down. Whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated, you are at risk for a blood clot. And all that information is still out there and undecided. So it's coming forth. But if you're vaccinated, that doesn't mean you're going to get a blood clot. If you're unvaccinated, it just doesn't. We just don't know yet. And so many times when people are sick with COVID, what are they? Immobile. And they're dehydrated. So they're at risk for blood clots just in and of itself. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay. Well, guys, I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us today. Kathy, thank you for jumping in on the call today. Appreciate you giving us your insight in on the legal aspect of it. And like I mentioned before, when there is an update, you guys are more than welcome to come and let me know. So that would be great. So Kathy, thank you so much. Whitney, thanks for joining us today. I hope you had fun. And now you know what to expect next time with the rapid fire questions. We really didn't get into it because I think we got started on
like a bunch of cereal and vodka.
That was an intentional diversion tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
So yeah. We'll pick up.
You know what? Hold on. Before we do that, you know what that was? That was this. That was a Whiskey Tango Foxtrot moment that I call it.
Thank you.
Because first of all, it was a shocking moment when she said,
pleasure myself with vodka and chocolate.
Yes.
I
should have played it right then and there.
My kids, the boys, all 5 of them have messaged.
That's gonna live in.
And one of the texts was actually Whiskey Tango Foxtrot question mark.
Yeah. So next time we see one another, we're gonna make shirts of this, and we're gonna market this. Like,
what kind of podcast is she doing?
Oh, she's
I don't know, but I think next time we just have some vodka and chocolate.
What's it called? Pleasuring.
I can't.
With vodka and chocolate. Is it dark chocolate or is it just regular chocolate?
Dark, low carbs. And vodka's no carbs.
So basically, it's the cacao. It's not even chocolate, it's the cacao.
It's good stuff.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, we've run out of time, but thank you guys so much for joining me. We hope that you guys come back next week. Next week, it's going to be a Seinfeld show, as I like to call them, because I have nothing planned for it next week. So it's going to be one of those things that it's going to be like probably at the end of the week and be like, oh, hey, you want to
show about nothing?
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. See, people get it. People get it.
And
we got to figure out an entrance like Kramer, though, if we're going to do that.
Oh, just barge through the door.
Sliding in. Yeah.
It'll be holy Jesus. So Ray's been writing a novel over here. I'm not going to read all that, dude. You know what? I will probably read it next time and be like, here's the synopsis of what he said. He said, OU sucks.
Oh, hi, Ray. Thank you. Thank you.
He wrote on Yeah, Ray. All right. Well, again, this is Season with the Battle Rhythm Podcast. Aaron, thanks so much for coming in.
Glad to be here.
Whitney, thank you so much. Kathy, a pleasure being here. Thank you so much for being here. We will see you all next week. And remember, you guys have been listening to the Battle Rhythm Podcast here on Voice of the People Radio and TV Network, BUC Digital, and Patriot Radio. We will be back next week with a show about nothing, and I'm not paying the copyrights for that, so I'm not seeing that show, but it's called Seinfeld. So see you guys later. Thanks for coming. We'll see you guys next week.
Get BUC Digital in the App Store.
Thank you for watching. As we wrap up today's show, we want to extend our heartfelt thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in. Your support and engagement means the world to us, and we hope you found today's content insightful and entertaining. This episode, along with all previous shows, is available on all major media platforms. Whether you prefer to listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or watch YouTube, we got you covered. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and leave a review to help us reach more listeners just like you. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. Connect with us on social media, where you can join us in our conversation and stay updated on the latest news and episodes. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Thank you once again for being part of the Voice of the People, U.S.A. Radio and TV network. We look forward to bringing you more exciting content in our upcoming episodes. Until next time, take care.